Hello, Landon. This is Magic Spiral, and today we're going to talk about... What the f***? I was browsing around on Shop Goodwill when I came across this rather curious 4-track called the Korg CR-4. It struck my curiosity, so I looked into it. I found an article on Sound, and I just decided to go ahead and buy the thing. Looking at the CR-4, it is everything I could have ever wanted when I was 13 years old. Too bad this device came out in 2004, most certainly at the end of the life of the 4-track cassette recorders. By that time, my friend and I were already using an 8-track digital recorder.
I can't even get my things done.
Show the people how we dump a track onto the multi-track recorder. So looking at the feature set of this machine, at the time it came out, it's no wonder who Korg was marketing to. Luddite guitar players. Do you find working with computers to be confusing and frustrating? Introducing the Korg CR-4. Just pop in a cassette and hit record. The built-in effects give you everything you need to sound like a pro. It's that easy. Korg, play with yourself. The Korg CR-4 is essentially a 4-track, a boombox, and a guitar amplifier all built into one unit. The CR-4 is the only 4-track I'm aware of that has built-in speakers. It operates at the standard cassette tape speed, making it functional as a boombox. The built-in amp modeling and effects processing make the CR-4 a functional guitar amplifier. Let's take a look at what the Korg CR-4 is capable of, and what it's not capable of. This machine runs at a tape speed of 1 7/8 inches per second. This is the speed of a standard pre-recorded cassette tape. A standard 4-track runs twice as fast at 3 3/4 IPS. This is for increased fidelity. The more tape that passes over the heads, the better the quality. As we can see, there is no vari-speed option. This is kind of a bummer because vari-speed is one of the best features in a 4-track. Another common feature on a 4-track that's missing here is noise reduction. They attempt to offer it as a poor man's version in the effects section, but it ends up being utterly useless. Another feature missing here is bouncing. Bouncing enables you to consolidate and mix tracks down so that you can have room for more. But we cannot do that here. The outputs are limited to a stereo RCA, but we have 4 1/4-inch inputs that can be recorded all simultaneously. One of my favorite things about the CR-4 is the piano key transport section. It's very responsive, and one thing you can do is hold down the pause button a little bit to screw with the tape speed. A favorite of mine since my earliest recordings. You can also mash the pause button, something you cannot do on digitally controlled transports.
Everybody dying.
One thing about having a mechanical pause button is that the tape head stays engaged when the pause button is pressed, whereas on the digitally controlled ones, the tape head disengages. So let's talk about the effects really quick. You have preamp and amplifier modeling, and then you have effects processing. The modeling isn't all that great, and it leaves something to be desired. The noise gate, for example, that's on the higher gain settings, is terrible. The effects aren't all that bad, but they only give you a single tap button to adjust the settings. We can see in this section that this is the only place where we have an EQ. This brings us to the internal routing. First of all, we can only use the effects on the way into the machine, so we cannot use them during mixdown. On top of that, we can only use the effects on one track at a time. There is no auxiliary send or return for the effects, so we're stuck with what's printed. For how much they went out of their way to create a machine with effects, they certainly designed it with limited usage. By forcing the effects button down, you can record the effects on more than one track at once, but the same audio is going to be printed on both tracks. This hack can also be used to record multiple instruments onto one track, but this machine is not designed to do that. The CR-4 is full of these oversights, or cost-cutting measures. The inputs are only wired to record one track at a time, two tracks at a time, or all four at once. I find it a little curious that you can't record, say, tracks 2 and 3 at the same time. The gain staging is limited and you just have to get used to it. You only get an LED meter to let you know when you're peaking. For whatever reason, once I hit record, the volume of whatever I was recording became very loud and distorted, making it very hard to hear the other instruments I was trying to play to. On playback it would be fine, but during recording it was quite problematic. I don't know if it was something wrong with my machine or if that's normal. Finally, this brings us to the editing capabilities, which there really are none. There's not even a place for a foot switch to punch in. This means you have to press record with no tracks armed and then press the track that you want to have armed at the moment you want to punch in. The moments where you punch in have a very noticeable noise. This machine was designed with one take in mind, if that was even ever a consideration, and that's just the Korg CR-4. It does have many flaws, and it is missing many features that are essential for the 4-track, like vary speed, an effect send, and bouncing. When it comes to 4-track cassette recorders, this is an interesting timepiece. It came out when 4 tracks were being replaced by digital recorders.
Once again, we're having technical difficulties.
In a way, it was just too late. I think it can still be used as a fun and useful tool, as a practice amp or boombox, or just a simple and straightforward recorder, and it can also be used to get tape saturation and distortion. I can't think of anything else that's like it. So what do you guys think? Is this thing worth making an album on? Well, I did.
The most undeniable thing that you'll ever hear.
Reggae!